Monkey just a weasel. He throws off. Goes a weasel. I don't know how this one goes.
The weasel seems to be pretty easy. That monkey sure is a weasel. Pop the raven evermore, pop goes the weasel. Never tune your guitar, Paula. Never sell out to the mainstream. I gotta have my pops.
If we sing it really fast, let's all get ready for pops. This is going to be harder.
Every fourth measure, you can't miss the pops. You know, they're really not trying to challenge the kids here. They're just as sick of this song as we are. The monkey was on welfare, pop goes the weasel. Amphetamines are good and good for you. Wait, so the monkey and the weasel were lovers? Does that mean the pop was a metaphor? Bad touch, bad touch.
Oh, we can get a nice little place for you in the shed. We'll help. Right, and then we can play.
Oh, no. Thank you.
And
Bad touch, bad touch.
I think we should sing like a song. Okay. Oh, ladies, come out and play.
Ladies? Ladies, the studio is on fire. You better go. Ladies, this place is a tinderbox. Oh my God. You're on your own. Following Raffi's exile to Canada, Carol and Janice are now the sole fixtures of the kiddie oldies circuit, playing to overly nostalgic 40 and 50-somethings that really need psychological help, and their children who probably just don't give a damn either way. Okay, next stop, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the home of Prince, Mystery Science Theater 3000, and Fisker. This show was called Axel and His Dog, though a cat and ladyfriend were involved as well. Axel was effectively an overgrown child from Scandinavia. I think it's like Atlantis, by way of Minnesota. He lived in a tree house with a cat and dog. Axel was played by one Clellan Card. He'd originated his Axel character in the late 30s for a Christmas sketch on his radio show. In the early 50s, Card lost 2 of his 3 children in separate tragic accidents. Perhaps as his way of grieving, Card turned his entertainment skills towards children. In 1954, Card resurrected his Axel character for a kiddie show host position at WCCO. Sometime in the early 60s, Card was diagnosed with cancer. The diagnosis remained a secret, and Card continued hosting his show until he simply couldn't handle it anymore. In 1966, Card hosted his final episode of Axel and His Dog, which he treated like any other show. A little over a week later, Clellan Card passed away at the age of 62.
Mama?
I told you this was not going to be a happy episode. Nonetheless, let's take a better look at Axel and his dog.
Yay, still got the beer here. Yep. I got almost a full bottle.
No. My vocal cords are still a little sore from the magic guard. I told you it does not pay to feed your dog radioactive begging strips. I agree.
She got me all off key. I was going along awfully good on the afternoon of a fall.
By yes, right?
The entrance of the garage into that house.
By Emerson, Lake and Palmer?
And she got the
Ice Road Truckers.
So what are you waiting for?
See what all the buzz is about. 55,000 episodes, over 200 originals, countless 5-star.
Ice Road Truckers. Episodes. Work the first episode and work right from there.
Defensively, Florida State, because they have so much depth, they can get up and really pressure defensively like they are right now. With the mismatches, things like that. Ready on that little switch.
Hundreds of miles of road made entirely of thin ice. Over deep water. Should be a hell of a story. And it is.
It's like the eighth wonder in the world, the ice road.
From the pioneers who first trucked the open ice.
From the early guys, it always takes guts and courage.
To the men who carve out a frozen superhighway.
The most dangerous time is when they're putting the road in.
From the secret mine that fueled the atomic bomb. To the billion-dollar diamond boom.
Well, when it first started, a lot of people said diamonds. Like, what the heck? There's no diamonds up here.
The trailblazer, John Dennison.
It never entered my mind that we weren't going to be successful.
And the ice pilots who keep the adventure alive.
It's called the dash for the cash.
Back on the ice one more time. This is the story of Canada's legendary Ice Road Truckers. Then and now. The Big Empty of Canada's far north. 40 degrees below zero. A giant cylinder that dwarfs the semi creeps along a frozen lake.
It's so cold. My thermometer always stops at 0. It doesn't go negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It stops at negative 20, which is centigrade, not Fahrenheit.
Destination? One of the richest diamond mines in the world. And most remote.
February 24th, it's about 10:30 a.m. I got a scrubber for Snap Lake on. It's going to Snap Lake.
The loaded rig is at the limit of the ice and the driver's skill.
Oh, you're good. Hey,
Even for wide-load specialist Jay Westshot.
how heavy are those? This one's so hot, heavy, it makes it a challenge. I'm scared of putting the angle in it.
It's risky, but it's the only way this team can move north. Even the big rig of the air, the C-130 Hercules, can't carry such massive equipment. And it's 6 times more expensive to move supplies by plane than by truck.
So it's mostly driven by economics. It would just be far too expensive to fly the stuff.
You know, the plane is riskier. Plane is just a truck with wings. You know, I think if I put wings in my truck, I wouldn't feel very safe.
ride on the ice is the only way to go.
Love it. Gotta love it, eh?
The high Arctic belongs to the Inuit people. But the vast lakelands to the south are more like Apache country. The Yellowknife and the Klecho are northern relatives of the Apaches. In the 1700s, the first European trappers arrived.
Most of the traditional communities in the Northwest Territories were based on the fur trade. They started out as small trading posts with the Hudson Bay Company. The community grew up around the trading post, and the major income for people was to go out on the trap line and trap it.
The land was rich but roadless. Hundreds of glacial lakes blocked the way in every direction. Yet in winter, a brave traveler could set out over the lake. On the big rig of the day, native sleds, powered by European dogs.
Well, originally, dog sledding was the predominant form of transportation. So originally, a dog team was meant to pull a heavy load and get you from point A to B or to service your trap line. Somewhere between 100 and 150 pounds per dog would be your maximum weight.
As fortune hunters fanned out across the land, they uncovered more of its riches. In 1897, the Klondike Gold Rush was on. Anyone with a tin pan and a dream of striking it rich was headed to the gold fields. In the far northwestern corner of Canada, the Yukon Territory. But 800 miles east of the Klondike, at the present-day location of Yellowknife, a few prospectors tried their luck and unexpectedly hit pay dirt.
As these guys are traveling to these gold fields, well, they're exploring as they go along, and people found signs of gold, in this area.
They staked claims, but then moved on to the world-famous gold fields out west, never to return.
So they never bothered coming back to look for it, and they just sort of sat there in the records that there had been gold discovered in the Yellowknife area.
One of the richest gold veins on the planet would go untouched for more than 30 years. But first would come another big find on the eastern shore of Great Bear Lake. The year was 1930.
The first major mining operation or discovery in the Northwest Territories was actually radium that they were looking for. Radium was used in X-ray machines and for treating cancer. They were mining pitchblende, which is the mineral, and getting the radium out of it.
The mine was called El Dorado, after the mythical land of gold. The town of Port Radium boomed. When it came to hauling tons of radium ore, dog teams were not an option. Nor were the now abundant push planes. And no one had yet dared to drive a big rig truck on a frozen lake. The heavy hauling was done by water. Huge barge trains were floated on the rivers and across the big lakes.
Most of the supplies that went up to Great Bear Lake were barged up down the Mackenzie River.
Barges could move the tonnage, but slowly and only during the short summer.
In the winter, it was a bit of a problem because they used to have to stockpile most of the supplies to get into the winter.
We're gonna.
Pure radium was far more valuable than gold, going for
Hey guys, we'll play doing some city gaming in a bit.
but demand was short-lived.
So today or tomorrow, I'm going to do some more video work. We're good, maybe do some more videos maybe tomorrow. I'll play some game later.
World War II cut off the European markets for medical radium. 1940. But soon afterward, there came a new use for the radioactive ore.
When the Americans, Manhattan Project wanted uranium from the atomic bomb, they reopened the mine. They were mining the same ore, but they're extracting the uranium out of it, not the radium.
What should I play?
And some of it really did end up in the atomic bombs that were used in Japan.
I don't know. Should I play some? I'm gonna goof off, so why not play some goof off game?
The remote mine had helped shape 20th century history, and it wasn't the only one. Northern Gold would help snap Canada out of the Great Depression and bankroll the most audacious
San Andreas
system on Earth. Big rigs on thin ice.
I get you guys off.